G'day, Doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. We've got our review of round one, and I'm a very happy camper. Although here with Cyclone Alfred, wasn't as bad as was feared, luckily. But it's still hanging around. Hasn't even crossed yet. Stopped at Moreton Bay, but lucky there was some internet and power up the road. So we went for a drive and was able to watch the game on the phone. And then the power come on. Luckily, where we are, there's still thousands of people without power. So I'm very lucky to have some at the moment. But the winds are picking up again, and the rain is peltering down, and we're gonna get about 30 or 40 mils per hour in a couple of hours. So may lose power again. And I'm piggybacking right now off the mobile phone network because the NBN is down and don't expect that to be fixed for a while. But anyway, hope everyone is doing well after our first round victory, 28 points to 20. Very, very happy with that performance. Obviously, there's some rust there. There's some ways that some times we dropped off. But looking at the approach to the game and the way we went about things, didn't throw everything at them either, I don't believe. It was all about process. It was all about perfecting a system that they've been trying to implement now into its third year. And a bunch of players that look to have bought in very, very well. So thanks for those who have joined. There could be a little bit of this could drop out a little bit. Let us know in the comments. Come say hello in the chat if you like. But I'll probably run through this as quickly as I can. And what we'll do is we'll get the stats up there straight away. But in a nutshell, I was really impressed with the team effort. I was very impressed with Serraldo's selections, the way it all panned out. They executed their plans perfectly. And in a game where the 7 didn't kick the ball once, it just shows that it looked very systematic, the game, the whole way we did it. Burton just putting up those casual kicks, and we were making such good ground for majority of the match that, they're only going 20, 30 meters, going fairly high in the air, landing where they wanted them to. Just kept putting pressure on the Dragons till they come up with mistakes, and then we punished them for those. It's our own doing a lot of the time, which let the Dragons back into the match. So while that is a concern, if we play a perfect game, we're going to have a big win over a side like that. Teams that don't have threats as running halves are going to struggle in this comp. And if they're carrying one too many big boys in their team, the way the game is at the moment, it is also going to make them struggle unless they get everything their own way. Welcome to Shannon. How are you? The boys played really well. Little drop off at the end, but the man couldn't be any happier for a round one game. Yeah, pretty much a good nutshell way to describe it. Very, very happy. And I thought I'd watch the game again just to sort of decipher what I saw, and very happy with all of our new guys that have come to the club, from Montoya to Tupanua. Obviously, you could say it was a man of the match performance. Saluka Fafita played 25 minutes, which is what we need from that big man at the start. In certain games, he may be brought on again for another stint. But for him to get that residual fitness and seeing that he was struggling a bit after 10 or 12 minutes, I could see that a little bit. He was struggling to get back, but he got through that and just contributed the whole time he was out there, especially in defence. Had 5 runs for average of 3 post-contact meters per hit up and 10 meters per run, which is all you want. Some of that was out of yardage, some of that was through that middle third, which is where we tend to have our forwards do most of their running, and our back 3 worked hard off their own line, and couldn't have been happier with Montoya today. Obviously, he dropped that ball after he scored a try, which was all started from a Max King run that nothing much happening in the set. Max King does a really fast, aggressive run on the fourth, quick play the ball, and then some real class and great try assist from Viliami Kikau onto Marcelo Montoya. Then he knocks on off the second ruck, and that was probably one of the most disappointing things was that although Critter got there with his hip and thigh, I never saw any knee contact, and you slow it down, there's no knee contact to the head. It's thigh and hip and incidental contact, whether you like Critter or not. But it was disappointing that sort of, Sexton got dragged in a little bit on his heels, and then we were behind the 8 ball. And Critter and Wilson didn't get it done, which has been a bit of a problem through the Broncos really stripped that right edge of ours apart. So they've got some work to do with their defence. But in saying that, that was probably the only disappointing thing. Obviously, then Critter got injured or cramping up and stuff like that. And we'll have one out of the line, which gave them another try. And then obviously, we're well in control. Penalty. Bailey Hayward gives away a penalty. Todd Smith was very harsh on us all day with those sort of penalties, and I felt that the Dragons didn't get the same sort of how do I put it? Well, they didn't get the same policing as far as I was concerned, and we did a really good job. We did a really good job in getting fast play the balls and that sort of thing. So I'll go through the stats in a moment. G'day, James. Welcome to you. He agrees with you, Shannon. And Max King had a great game as well. All the forwards stepped up. Yeah, Max King was an absolute champion out there. And look, in the first part of that game, it's all about the defence. That second stint of Max King, to me, showed a player that has just pushed himself higher up the rankings of prop forwards in the NRL. He looked like an absolute as good as any Regan Campbell-Gillard or anyone out there like that. He looked fit. He was making an average of 4 meters post contact per run, which is an all-time high for him. He's increased that year on year with Canterbury. His post contact. These are all little things where players incrementally improve, but it also helps when you've got better players around you that help you do that as well. It's sort of how it works. But Max, yeah, he stepped up today. He was absolutely phenomenal. And Satili Tupanua, the way that they utilised him in the middle was essentially how we want to utilise a Josh Curran as well, I believe. And the fact that you've got Tupanua, Harry Hayes, and even Jamin Salmon there that can all play in that middle role. They can all play. Tupanua more of a runner than a passer though, but he can offload and all that sort of stuff. Harry Hayes can do it all, and then you've got the fact that those three players can play centre, and Salmon actually slotted into centre when Critter had to go off with 10 to go, and Tupanua came back and played in the middle, and the way he was able to, off the back of really good momentum, that's what I mean. He was given perfect ball and just utilised perfectly. And obviously to a set game plan where you got to give the coach a lot of credit, the way that they were able to execute that through the middle. The Dragons didn't really try to go around us. They did a couple of times, obviously, and they got some points, but it was hard going for them to do much at all. They scored their last try was, everything. They threw the kitchen sink at us and got us in the end with a really good try. But outside of that, it was all off our own, us giving them penalties and stuff like that, and having our backs turned when Jacob Little runs off and scores. So, and he's very fast. Like, he's faster than most backs in the NRL. But to have him and Damien Cook is very, very could be advantageous for them. It's something they're going to have to do to play off the front foot, because their halves, whilst they had some good efforts in running the ball on occasion today, they're just not respected as runners of the ball. And And that being the case, they will pull some surprise on some teams, but it won't be too often. And we really made their lives difficult. Kyle Flanagan and Lockie Elias were, you wouldn't rate them over a 5 out of 10 today as far as their effect. Lots of errors, lots of ineffective stuff. So, they got a lot of work to do, the Dragons. I think they thought it was just all going to happen for them. And they'll win some games, no doubt, but I think they met a team which is far more organised in the way that it goes about its defence. And that was the biggest thing for me today. G'day, JD. Yeah, I was very worried going into the game. I thought we were very vulnerable. As it turned out, we only won by 8 points, but I felt we were, a 24-point better side, if that makes sense. Shannon, thoughts of man on the bench? Look, I have no problem with it. He played 36 minutes straight, and which is nearly half a game of footy, and he just goes 100%. And the timing of bringing him on, you could start with Satili Tupanua, and you could start with Josh Curran. I would say 2 of our best 5 players last year when they played, were Josh Curran and Kurt Mann. And they played the majority of their matches off the bench. So it's just an 80-minute match. I'm concerned. It's not like where you had reserves on the bench. And I know that people know that, but you wouldn't know it sometimes because one of my good mates was just cracking up because he was upset because Salmon started ahead of me. And I'm like, Salmon's going to do his role at the start, and he did it very, very well. He's very trusted in that defensive line, especially on their own line when they've got to repel shit. Jamin Salmon, he's a talker, he's a communicator. He works in the ruck really hard. He adds weight to a lot of tackles, hits first contact on a lot of tackles. Look, I'd rather, if I had to pick between having Kurt Mann in my side and Jamin Salmon, I'm probably picking Kurt Mann. Don't get me wrong. But Jamin Salmon fits our side pretty well because whilst he doesn't excite you too much when he's running the footy, he works his butt off. He had some good line engagements and his passing was a lot more silkier than it was at the start of last year. And I just found that his first stint was good. That when Mann come on, he just had. This is what I said to me, mate. I said, and he might come on. Yeah, he does the dog work real well. That's a good way to put it, James. But I said to me, mate, Mark, I said, listen, Mann's going to come on when the game starts to open up a bit, and his leg speed through the middle. He can step off the left and the right foot as well. We saw that. He acts as another half, comes in often as a second man in and just hits people in the ribs and just loves it. He's a hard man to get, like defenders that he's putting shots on people. People find it hard to get a shot on Kurt Mann, I'll tell you that now, because he's very elusive as well. And he often finds his front really quickly and gets away a quick play the ball. So yeah, I was very impressed with Kurt Mann when he come on, and then he starts the second half. Obviously, they've had a break and he's there, but perfect person to start. Works till he drops, and then and then they brought on Hayward to replace him. Salmon ended up having to come back on, I think, to replace maybe Hayes, he came back on to replace Tupanua when Tupanua had pushed out to the centres and Tupanua came back on in the middle. But Satili Tupanua was utilised really, really well. I was very happy with it. And I couldn't have been happier, to be honest. Obviously, I was feeling a bit worried at the end that, how are we going to let this game slide? The Dragons had so much luck when it come to things. I don't have any Bulldogs glasses on when I say that the Critter and the Preston incidents were completely bullshit. You could see by Jacob Preston he had no eyes on Val, like he was coming across and it was a collision. And Val was just putting it on because next minute Valentine Holmes is making a try save and tackle when Cherry busts through. And then and not long after he makes a break, and I think Bronson Cherry brings him down. No, Harry Hayes got him. That's right. That's what I mean. To have players like Harry Hayes, Satili Tupanua, and Jamin Salmon who can all play second row, play lock or that middle role, and can fill in at the centres at any point. It just gives us so much versatility. And it's funny because Curtis Moran played a lot on the edge today in New South Wales Cup. So he did a lot of that middle work. But you'll find that he's probably wants to have that same sort of flexibility as well. And we saw him in the trial be basically in the centres throwing the last pass. So I think he's improving all these players as rugby league footballers, this coach and this coaching staff. Like they've all got their roles, but they've also got the ability to cover other roles and move into other positions if need be. And he would rather keep someone in the side that's been there and knows their role, but also knows this other role as well. And they're all doing well at it. Whether they've got to swap sides of the field or move from the middle to the edge, it doesn't matter. He's quite happy to keep them in the side rather than just replace someone. And then sort of give the opportunity to the person that deserves it, but is also going to do the best thing for the team and for the club at the time. So I felt a bit sorry for Shorty Moran not to be playing today in NRL, but look, Harry Hayes, I felt he was really solid in the trials, worked his ass off, and today worked his ass off again. Some runs, these lighter forwards of ours struggle. Plus, is that they work so hard. We've got momentum. They're good. So I'm probably cutting out a little bit here. We've got I'm utilising. We've got one mobile tower which is working, two that aren't in the area. Steve says Satili's a machine. I love this guy. I agree. These reports from Preston and Crichton were total horseshit. Yeah, I believe they were. So, all right. Well, let's show some stats from the game. So 28-20. It was 5 tries to 4. Matty Burton 4 from 5, which was good. We ended up with 55% possession, which in the pre-game discussion about this, it was possession is key. It's key in every game, but even more so at this point. We had basically 5 more minutes with the footy, completed 74%. Still a bit low from what we want to be. I reckon if they can average 78, 79 through the season, they're going to be very tough to beat and put a lot of points on. But it's always going to be a bit conservative early. Run meters, smashed them. Post contact, they're probably making a little bit more per run, or quite even. 6 line breaks apiece. A few more tackle breaks for the bigger side, but the average set distance, 8 more meters per set, is nearly 9 meters more per set, is a bit of a, that's a great thing for us, and a player like Daniel Saluka Fafita only had 5 runs, so obviously it come down to the kicking game, and this is what I said. Our kicking game, and the way we play our football was always going to be hard for the Dragons from that point. But I thought they'd be more prepared, and they weren't. I don't think they nullified it. And you could see the kick return meters. So Tracy was when they were kicking the footy from a point on the field where we wanted them to. Their halves are under pressure. While they were kicking quite long, it was all sort of done in a way where they couldn't meet us on the advantage line. We had Tracy catching the football on the full and being able to run 10 and 20 metres before they met him, whereas they were catching the footy and basically, as you saw, didn't have much of a chance to do much. And whenever they had any sort of space, our one-out guys like Viliami, and look, people say Viliami Kikau, he had the least amount of runs of the forwards and stuff like that, but he absolutely works his ass off in defence and just terrorising those wingers and centres. And Jaden Sewer looked gun shy against Viliami. I'm going to say it. So he's a pretty tough player, Jaden. He's been known for his hardness and toughness. On the other side of the field, don't even look scared at all. But I know Jaden Sewer, to me, looked completely outplayed by Viliami Kikau. Just, Kikau had a few errors, but he had three offloads, one leading to a try for Tracy, which was fantastic. Dropped the ball at the end under fatigue. But a big fella like Kikau, we always know he takes 2 or 3 games to get into his groove. And it's just good that if we can grab a win early, get into our groove that way, it's going to be good for us. Average play the ball speed, 3.3 seconds. We didn't offload much. We didn't throw many balls. We get to that 5th tackle. There was no running on the 5th, which I was a bit disappointed in because I felt that the Dragons wouldn't have really been ready for it on occasion. But we didn't need to. They just stuck to a process. They just kept kicking it. A casual little bomb up for Matthew Feeney or whatever his name is, and he just got terrorised the whole game. And it nullified his ability to really bring the ball out strong and get onto a roll on. Because he's got some talent, that kid, for sure. And what about this Christian Tuapoloto? Like he carried on the last game, and then he was carrying on this game, and they were getting smashed, and he's acting like he's won the lottery. Like I think there was a lot of feeling because they wanted to get it in for Crichton because of Flanagan's fucking nose. But please, ridiculous. Says the Dragons threw no dummies all day. I find that hard to believe. Can't always believe these stats. Kicking meters, they had us about 30 meters. But as I said, we were kicking from inside their half most of the time. Burton wasn't really required to kick for distance the whole match. Isn't that hasn't happened to us for a long, long time. I don't remember a game where he's been the only one who kicked. And because he hasn't had to do those big, massive kicks all game, right, kicking for big, long distance, he was able to just keep practicing and putting them exactly where he wanted. And I think 95% of his kicks landed exactly where he wanted them to land. And they weren't concerned with variation because they know they can do all that other stuff. But it was following the process, breaking the Dragons down, making them come from the same part of the field, repeat. And we put on the points. We put on 5 tries quite easily. Should have been 6 or 7. They shouldn't have got more than 2 tries against us. I still look at that game as a bit of a lost opportunity in that department as far as for and against goes, but way better side than the Dragons, and it showed. 8 bombs to 2, as you can see. A lot of those were bombs, considered bombs. They were just perfectly placed kicks most of the time. Couple really good sort of Montoya had some really good goes at the footy as well under the high ball. resulted in us getting the ball back a couple of times as well. Ineffective tackles, that's normal for us, and we miss more tackles, 35, which is quite high when you've got 55% possession and 23 ineffective. But as you say, you got a player rushing up to put a hit on and he misses, or you just had to look at their set. The fact that they couldn't move out of that middle third and they were just, it's all from that defensive structure. The missed tackles don't matter, and we need to get over the missed tackles. We really do. There was a couple of misreads which led to them making a break. Cherry overplayed a read, and they broke through down that right edge in that second half. Or first half, that was. Sorry. But, yeah. 12 errors to 15. That's a lot of errors in a game of rugby league. We gave away too many penalties. And, look, I just felt Todd Smith didn't give us I'd say half of those were fair. The other half, I felt he was just wanted to blow the whistle. And it wasn't, in my opinion, equal with the other side. 1-6 again each. They were inside the 10 twice. And we had 3 people put on report, and Jamin Salmon was the last one put on report. I think his was a cover shot on Valentine Holmes. It might have been a shoulder charge, but I can't really remember. Good to see Tracy bounce back after that trial game. Yeah, James, look, it was a trial. It was very fucking windy. They had the wind with them. As I said, he had the sun in his eyes. There's lots of excuses. The Broncos are a different beast, though, to this Dragon side. They got 2 really halves that are just going to put them in the right spots in the field. It's going to be a good test for us coming up against them. But look, I'm starting to believe this team. It's one game. We lost the first 2 last year. Really could have made the top 4. Should have made the top 4 in hindsight. But yeah, look, a lot of people lost their mind when the team was named. They looked at that bench and saw Salmon, Haywood, Tupanua, and Harry Hayes, and we're like, what are you doing, Serraldo? And I'm like, well, 3 of those players were consistently on the bench all year last year. And you take out Tupanua and you would have had Curran there. Well, Curran's suspended. Curran comes back next week. He joins that side. It's going to be interesting to see the team for next week, I could tell you, because I don't know, is Sam Hughes going to be out for a few weeks, or what's the go with Sam? Because I've got a feeling he'll come back straight into the side, but maybe not. What we need to understand is it comes down to a lot with their fitness and stuff. And look, I thought Saluka Fafita's first 25 minutes was exactly what we wanted from him. I'd like to see him get another go next week. We come up against a team with a massive forward pack, but it's also got a big motor on it and so much strike. I don't have to run through their names, but Tino, Regan Campbell, Gillard, Fafita, and a bunch of others. Then you got Mo Fetawaka, Cleese. They're a big pack. Pretty good hooker. They really should be doing better than they do, and I think Des Hasler is going to have them ready for us next week. But we'll preview that when it comes up. So, look, I was pretty happy with the game, guys. As far as player stats go, Toby Couchman, the Dragons player, very good debut, 47 tackles, worked his ass off. We handled him really well in the middle. It's a good day when Reed only has to make 32 tackles. Connor Tracy, obviously, off that, so many return meters as well, getting the ball in the full. Tupolotto, 3 line breaks. He just had to dive over most of the time. I look at the Bulldogs. So Tracy had 20 runs, 229 meters, 1 line break. And then you got Montoya and Blake Wilson. Really good sharing of the running duties. Similar meters per carry. Really, really good. If to get that out of your back three in a game with 55% possession. If we were doing it a bit tougher coming out of our own end, those meters go up for the 3 of those as well, generally. But Max King, I believe that's one of his best returns. 13 runs for 142 meters. He was absolutely phenomenal. And if you go and watch that trial against the Broncos, that first 20 minutes as well, he was he stood like he was. Reed had a few runs, ones, some others, not too bad. Kickout was all about what he was doing off the ball. His kick chase, phenomenal, and some second phase. And Jacob Preston had a really good game as well. Can't believe I didn't talk much about him, but again, just an absolute animal and makes some really important. Just the way he just clings on that boy, hits and sticks is phenomenal. Kurt Mann made a huge difference when he come on, and as I said, great stuff by the coach to put Salmon on first and then allow Mann, because Mann, I believe, is just more of a threat. And in the start of a match, sometimes that threat is nullified a little bit, especially for a smaller guy like that. You bring him on when there's a bit of, energy and wind out of the tank of the opposition. A player like Kurt Mann just gets your meters. He brings players onto the ball. He's tough. He cops it in the back when he engages the line. Uses his footwork really well. Usually gets away, good play the balls. You know what I mean? And he's just so much better at that when there's that little bit of sting out of the match. He started against the Roosters, right? Started against the Roosters last year and laid on that pass for Matt Burton to get the ball rolling, and Blake Taff scored in the corner of the play before. But, this team and these players, they can just, horses for courses, just can be utilised so well in different scenarios. And they're so versatile. Kirk can get in there at hooker if need be. He can do it all. He can be an extra half. He can jump in on the wing or play centre if he had to. He's a jack of all trades. You wouldn't say he's great at everything. But one thing I say he's really great at, I love his the way he commits himself in defence. And I would say the way that he engages the line has really improved as a player. Very happy with Kurt Mann. Bailey Hayward. Come on at a run early. Only had 2 runs for the match. And look, that's Bailey's game. People sit there and go, oh, what's Bailey Hayward doing? I'll show you the other stat. He played 21 minutes. All right. But he made 19 tackles. And he missed 1. 2 ineffective. For 21 minutes, that's bloody killing it. Kurt played 36, 19 tackles. Jacob played 80 minutes, 30 tackles. So Bailey just gets in there and goes to work. Satilli didn't have to tackle as much. Harry Hayes, absolute gun, 29 tackles. and I don't know how many minutes he played, but I do. Harry Hayes ended up playing 39 minutes, so just shared so well amongst these players. Kurt Mann, Satili Tupanua, Harry Hayes, Jamin Salmon. I don't think Jamin would have played quite as much had Critter not got injured. Silica Fafita an opening stint of 23 minutes. And Max King there is your prop leader with 48. It's very important how they spread this out amongst the players and the team. Thought Toby Sexton had a pretty good game, but look, didn't kick the ball. Didn't kick the footy. Chose to run at the right time again, I felt. He ran the ball some good times, got hammered. He's starting to think twice about running the ball. 24 tackles for Toby. They ran at him all day. I felt Matty Burton had some really good hits in defence and really got off the line well. Our line speed was just better than the Dragons, and I think at the end of the day, that's what sold. That's what told. And Daniel Salica Fafita, 14 tackles, and the first one of the day, absolutely monstering. What's his fucking name? I forgot his name already. Emre Gula from the Raiders. So Raymond Fatala Mariner didn't do much. The young fellas had a crack. Ryan Couchman got injured real quick. But yeah, I felt we were just all over him. And the points, the scoreboard wasn't a true reflection, I believe, of how much we dominated that match. G'day, Scott. You beauty. Great first up hit out for the boys. I didn't see the New South Wales Cup games. Curious about how Moan went. I only saw the second half where the Dragons scored like 6 tries. We led them at half time. I saw a bit of a Mone in that. He seemed to go all right. And he'll be a good player for us should we need him. It's good to have a player come from England that's doing pretty well over there. And I think the right thing is they make sure he's properly acclimatized, because if he comes into first grade, he's not quite right. That extra speed and that extra intensity causes injuries, and we saw it with that a lot of pommies that come to Australia, if they're not looked after properly, and he's not a pommie by no means, but he spent a bit of time over there. You know what I mean? Different conditions, different speed, different weather. I think they're just going to manage him right, and he'll play a part. And whether that's just making our reserve grade players better, whether it's leading those young fellas like Underhill and Jack Todd around. Now, a couple of them got some wake-up calls today too. Like I saw Jack Todd in that second half get absolutely hammered. But what I like about the kid is he kept going. He didn't dog it. And he nearly scored a try at the end. Sorry, guys, we just cut out for a bit, and it might happen from time to time. We back on? Might stop presenting, because that probably takes extra bandwidth. Shannon said, I love Ray, but I really feel we should be bringing him off for a stint and letting Hayward go out there. Yeah, I'm not sure, Shannon. I think they've just... Look, I agree with that comment most of the time, like I've always liked, we're conditioned to seeing that two-pronged attack, especially early in the season. The Storm have used it effectively with Harry Grant and Brandon Smith, and then you had, them doing it again last year. They were using like a Bronson Garlic and stuff as well. But lots of teams do it. We had Perry and Hughes in the NRL, sort of beginning of that NRL era, the way things were going. But Reid Marnie's an 80-minute player and a leader of our club. And I think if it's a game where we've got to defend, where we're probably on the back foot, I think they'll bring Hayward in. I think you'll see that happen. But when we've sort of got things in control, Reid will stay out there. And I don't think it was a matter of fatigue that he was caught out a couple of times. I think the Eels did their homework in the early on Reid when he come across to the Bulldogs. Obviously knew about him, and it's happened in a few games where people have got like chopped his arms down and stuff, and that's something he's got to work on. Like he's got to get it off the deck. And then there was, I think the next play he threw it off the deck and he nearly stuffed it up as well. But look, I think Jake Turpin's the backup hooker for us, and then they got that young fellow Otakulo, and it was also Ruben Moyle. So quite a bit of depth in our hooking ranks at the moment. I like the Hayward when he come on. His passing was great in that small lock roll as well. So they're all filling that role well. Like the team's just, whenever they replace a player, it's only enhanced. It never feels like a regression. And that's how it's got to be. And that's how the best teams play. You know, the people who come on make it their team better. And that's what I've felt has been the difference. Serraldo has tried to find the right players for the right times that make our team better when they come on. And I think they all do. And definitely today we saw that. Every player off the bench made a difference. People won't really say much about Bailey Hayward's influence today. I felt like he gives away that penalty before they score that try from Little. But his work with the ball, his passing game, and his work in defence, he's doing exactly what his coach is asking of him to do. So, yeah, Harry Hayes obviously a standout. Tupanua man of the match. And obviously Kurt Mann. Couldn't speak higher of all those players today. Daniel Saluk Fafita on the first tackle. Oh, my effing God. Yes, it was good to see and exactly the statement we needed. You know, we had Poasa Fa'amasili last year wanting similar stuff from him. And unfortunately, you know, he comes on with the Sharks, first hit up, and just gets smashed in the head with a head clash and out for the game, you know. But Saluka Fafita, I did the feature on him. I told people, you know, I've sat here and argued that he wouldn't play unless there was an injury to Hughes, which we'll ride. That's what's happened. But if he gets going, he gets to the potential that everyone believed that he's got, he's going to be deciding which club he wants to play for and for how much. You know, I don't know if we're going to have the cap to keep him if he can get to that level. See, what Max King did today, if you got Saluka Fafita with the ability to do that as well, and then you got Sam Hughes with a similar ability, add Leo Thompson to that mix, and wow. You know, then we've got Tupanua and Curran. Then you got Harry Hayes. You got Curtis Moran. Someone's got to drop out. And then it's like, well, we need to put Jack Underhill and Jack Todd in right now. Everyone was telling the coach all over the pages, why are you picking Salmon for? Why are you picking this player for? People are getting upset because Hutchison was playing New South Wales Cup. Like you shouldn't be allowed to play there either. Like some of our fans have just got no idea, I tell you. Look, I get the stuff with Salmon, I do, because he just doesn't inspire much when he's running the footy. But it's not our team's not built on what they do with the ball. It's what they do without it that defines what we are. And the coach won't be happy with 20 points. I can tell you that now. He'll be happy to get the 2 points. He'll be happy with the processes and that we have improved. I believe. I felt we managed that side, the Dragons, pretty well, and they did ask some questions, but I think we're going to go and do it all again against the Titans, and they're going to be a different kettle of fish. I think they're going to struggle with their kicking game, but if they're able just to put bombs up or decide whether they want to run the footy or not, because they're making ground through the middle and they're dominating us through the centre, it's a different game. If we can restrict their meters, have them kicking and having Tracy running onto balls on the full, they're going to be in for a world of pain as well, the Titans. But big ifs. When can we trust this side? That's what I mean. When can fans and when can us fans trust that our side is going to manage these players defensively, no matter who we've got out there? Because the players that they select to play are there because the coach 100% believes that they're going to reduce that team to 30, 35 metres per set. Right? That's what it's built based on. It has to be. It's consistently what he's picked in his sides. And they've not been doing that. That's another win for Serrato. Soon he'll be over 50% for wins out of his 50 games. He only won 7 in the first year. It was 13 last year. Has another good season, he'll be over 50 and he'll keep going up. But still a lot of work to do, a lot of rustiness. But for round one, I couldn't be happier. Still, he was sensational. Pete says, Amon ran out of puff, not an NRL at this stage. And that's it. He's a player. They're just going to condition, get ready. And once he's ready, he will help out a lot. And whether he's just helping bring the young fellas through or comes in and plays a couple of games off the bench or starts in a couple of games because he's earned it, that's what we want. It's a top 30. And we want the depth of that top 30 to go down as far as possible if required. And it's getting to the point where they're like, this player's signed elsewhere. And where we go, oh my God, why didn't we keep this player? Doesn't happen too often these days. It's all been about who we can get, not who we're letting go of. Obviously, Averillo and Alamotti was a bit sad, but I thought Bronson Cherry was really good today too. Another one I forgot to talk about. Thought Montoya was really good defensively. He stuck on really well and made some good choices. Couple of bobbles of the ball though, but yeah, I felt he had a good crack today. Marcello and Blake Wilson, I felt was really sturdy as well. Everybody was. Yeah, they've calmed a little bit in a couple of hours. I'm going to get, I think between 12 and 3, we're going to get about 60, 70 mils of rain. Yeah, well, the cyclone's just sitting off Moreton Bay still. It's been downgraded to a tropical low. And the southern end of it, which is sort of what's hitting our area. So the winds and rain, the rain's sort of still sideways, which is cyclone rain. And you got the winds aren't quite as heavy as they were last night, but they're still quite heavy. They just come in waves, like get these gusts come through and they last about a minute or two and then it's sort of still for a fair bit. So it's weird. It's really eerie as well. A few conspiracy theorists carrying on, but I think that, I couldn't believe the Premier's going. It's like he's wearing it like a fucking badge of honor, talking about this is the most power outages that any Queensland's ever experienced under any sort of weather event. Like he's wearing that like some sort of badge of honor. I'm like, well, when you get a Category 1 or a Category 2 cyclone go across the area where there's 4 million people, of course you're going to have the most outages. I think they're trying to defend all the actions they've taken, like closing the city down and all the preparation work they've done, but better to be safe than fucking sorry, I say. And I've said that with everything. You know, you have to trust people at some point. I think the local members, the state governments, the prime minister, I think everybody, no matter what colour they are, what gang they belong to, have all done the best they can. All have family and friends that they care for in these areas, and people they know, and you know, you can't take anyway. I'm blubbering on now. Stocks are good up the front. G'day, Scary. Welcome again, mate. More quality, less quantity. From Reed Marnie. And look, I guess that's probably a point I've mentioned a couple of times, Shannon and Scotty, is that Reed Marnie going for 65 minutes in a predetermined fashion, you know, plays for 30, then you know, has a break, comes on for another 30 or whatever, playing full pelt, you might get a lot more quality out of that condensed into that than you would over 80 minutes. But all I can say is that guy just puts his heart and soul into everything for the Bulldogs, and you could see how distraught he was, you know. And then he went up for the fucking the captain's challenge after that knockdown, like was living in denial. Then felt twice as bad when that got dismissed. But I don't know, a lot of stuff went the Dragons' way tonight. I felt they got the rub of the green. Even, you know, for Tyler Mariner, supposedly taken off for a concussion. That was just a breach of the rules. Typical Shane Flanagan cheating. Most coaches have done it, I will say that, but the Bulldogs, they don't stay down when they get hit too often. Preston's got a right to stay down if someone lands on his legs because he got suspended and shit and got sent off, cost us games. But yeah, our team doesn't lay down. A lot of teams do. And then that other one where DeBellin got called off by the doctor right when we've got the momentum on the attack. Like shit like that pisses me off. Let him flail for a bit and wait till the end of the set. Fucking hell. These things can't be helped, but they're just frustrating and annoying. Yeah, it could be. But look, I'll leave it to, I think they want the rotations happening for the middle, just so they can have that leg speed through the middle and play with momentum in both attack and defence. And yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm running out of puff. And it's getting late. It's 10:30 here, 11:30 in New South Wales. I'm excited as everybody else. I love watching the doggies play. And well, I'm sitting back here a little bit. So there you go. I made it a bit less quality, this one as well, just so I wouldn't have too many cutouts. But it seems to have gone all right. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. We'll do a preview this week for sure. We've got Team Tuesday coming up. I've also got to announce who won the competition for Serrato's team that he ran out with. So I've got to go back through all the teams everyone wrote up. I think we had about 50 entries this year, a bit less than last year, to be honest. But in saying that, it was a lot more predictable side that was going to run out this year than last year. So yeah, I'm sure we're going to have at least one winner. well, there will be one winner, whoever was the closest, but I reckon we might have a couple people who were within one or two spots of getting it right. I think the back line that started was, take out Jacob Carraz and replace him with Blake Wilson. Everyone's got that wrong. Some people had Wilson and Carraz in the side, but not Montoya. Still only counts as one wrong. So we'll see. Obviously, Curran was suspended, which was bullshit. But yeah. But thanks for tuning in, everyone, and sharing your thoughts on the game. It's great to get a win in round one. Bit disappointed in New South Wales Cup. I'm going to go watch that game again. And Jersey Flea had a good win. We lost in SG Ball and in Harold Mats, unfortunately. But we knew we were going to struggle in Harold Mats this year. But the guys sort of suffered a blowout. Don't know what happened, but they've played hard and tough all season and been unlucky to only have one win. Some games where they've definitely looked the better side and lost, from all reports. Obviously, the Greater Northern Tigers and North Coast Bulldogs, their games postponed due to Cyclone Alfred. And the girls both won. Lisa Fiola and Tasha Gale both had huge wins today. So the girls are doing well, and the women's NRLW side will be starting this year. We're all looking very much forward to that. Night, Pete. It's been a great day. Thank you all. G'day, Klopskop. Up the doggies. And Scotty, I'll trust Sarah, mate, and take care, buddy. That's it. Trust the process, as they always say. It's frustrating. People who, when we lose, people hate hearing that. But honestly, win, lose, or draw, trust it. Back it. The boys believe in it. And obviously, these guys here are a connected bunch. And Satili Tupanua has come in and just played like a flat track bully. And I said that about him at the start, when we first signed him. I said, against teams, when Roosters are playing a side they should beat, Satili Tupanua always ran, gunshot. But, or rough shot, or whatever the fucking saying is. But, no, hardly any mistake. I don't think he made a mistake today. He was phenomenal, and well done to him. And he could be one of the really important signings for us. We paid good money to get him. He was a thorn in our side. He used to make breaks against our team that was struggling, like through the middle, on the edge at will. Scored heaps of tries against the Bulldogs. Let's hope he has a really good season. Anyway, guys, I find it hard to say goodbye, but I'm saying goodbye. Go the Dogs. And the Dragons are in the bin.